Hey guys, Therese April from the Clarion Ledger here, and I'm actually trying to get to a better spot, so if I fall down all of a sudden because it's very dark out here, I'm just letting you know what's going on. Hold on one second, please. Okay, I think this should be a better spot. I just wanted to let you guys know, so far it's still just been a whole bunch of sitting around and waiting here. I've taken some notes that I'm using in the phone above my phone so that I'll be reading up there. That's what I'm looking at. Anyway, I had put on Facebook and Twitter the pictures of the trench rescue team and the dive team. I'm gonna get out of the road here. Sorry, when it gets dark out here, it gets dark, y'all. Anyway, the pictures of the trench rescue team and the dive team getting here. There were several different vehicles from jurisdictions around the metro area. So we had Madison, we had Brandon, we had Jackson was here. They all came in with big trailers. Well, what that is, as it turns out, is the Mid-Mississippi Strike Team. Now, those guys do a lot of things that are helpful in this situation. We're talking about a possible trench rescue situation here, and what that means, and I had to ask a couple of people because even though I'm familiar with search and rescue, trench rescue is something that I'm not very well read on. So what I understand is that when you bring in the trench rescue team, and this is the part that I'm going to kind of be reading to make sure that I've got my notes right here. Yeah, the Jackson dive team is here. You did see that. What they do is they deal with soil situations. Now, they've been here off and on throughout, because as soon as this was a situation where there were, you know, it was basically, there could be another soil collapse. Basically, if you dig a hole, you always have a chance that the walls of that hole could collapse on you. What they do is they deal with soil and secondary collapses. They can, in essence, build a box, like if you have the excavator that is buried, like we have in this situation. A team like this can dig down and build a box around it, for what it's worth, to keep the walls from coming in as they do the, I guess, as they do the extraction. So they can lower people down in a safe environment. They don't have to worry about the walls coming in on them as they do the extraction. It's not just like you can dig a hole when you've got this much sludge that has come in, because as you pull it out, there's still going to be a vacuum. It's still going to want to collapse on itself and that kind of thing. These guys can keep that from happening and make it a situation where they can actually get down in there safely. Because as we've talked about throughout, we don't want this to become another rescue and recovery effort for even more people. So that's what's going on with that potentially. Now, I don't have firsthand knowledge of that, but I did ask several people, what would they be doing? What would this situation merit? They also said that the dive teams, they have, in a lot of cases, they have ropes. There are so many resources down there right now because of this strike team. They could potentially even string ropes across there and lower someone down that way. But right now the big issue is getting somebody down to where they can recover these guys if they're down there, and do it safely without the walls coming in. That's what the trench rescue team would be doing, what a dive team could be doing. But the other thing, and I have a good friend who's probably watching, and so he can tell you if he wants to, that kind of explained this to me, but he said, you know, when you see those trucks go by, what you're seeing is the name of the team on the side of the truck, but it doesn't mean that's what they're there for. So while everybody's been saying, oh, the dive team is here, that doesn't mean that there's necessarily a dive effort going on, but they do have resources and they do have equipment that could prove useful in this situation, such as ropes or, you know, other things like that. I'm gonna look and see if y'all have any questions, and I'm trying to back up out of the road some more because this truck is slowing down. Again, it's very, very dark out here. So hold on one second. I'm looking at your questions here. I really appreciate all y'all's compliments. Thank you, thank you. Let's see. And someone's asking, this couldn't have been done since day one. No, this has been going on. The trench rescue team was called in the first day. It's just that the situation as it stands, and we've been over this. We've discussed this a whole lot about how hard it was to get out there to where it is. So, I mean, the thing is, they had a situation where they had to cross this basic sea of quicksand to get to where the equipment was. They had to be in a situation where they would not sink in it. They had to build a road out to it. Then they had to figure out if they could get down in it. They had to pump the water out that was when they were able to get to the dump truck and find that Mr. Shorter was not in it. They had to, as I understand it, potentially put some water back in so that they could move around, because when they pumped all that water out, it makes it something like a, if I understand right, something like a concrete type consistency. So it basically dries it out and makes it harder to maneuver in, I guess. So it's not an easy process. It's not just a day one process, because also, as we've talked about, this is a situation that is unprecedented. It's one that there really isn't a lot on the books on how to do something like this. There was one case in West Virginia, as I understand it, that was similar, and they did discuss how that was done, and I can't say that I know what, if anything they're doing now came from those reports or not. I just know that that was something that came up at some point. Let's see. They're asking how far it is. I don't know if you mean from where I'm standing or if you mean from where the rescuers are to where the equipment is, but this place is massive. It's huge. If you look down on this page and you go down to there's an article that I posted, and it says, I mean, it shows a picture that someone took for me last night. That picture's also on this page, and it's massive. I mean, and I keep saying it's like the Grand Canyon. It's not that big. I don't mean to exaggerate that, but when you look at it just in the pictures, you think you see kind of a canyon, but it's enormous. And when you see the crane in it, to kind of contrast it, it's even more frightening. Now, a lot of people have been asking, and asked in the last one, like, what happened? I'm new. That's the question. So for those of you that haven't been following along this whole time, on Friday, 2 Copiah County gravel miners were working in this mine behind me that you can't see because it's nighttime. And there was a landslide, and basically within, as I understand it, about 8 seconds, their equipment, an excavator and a dump truck, were covered with sludge and gravel and slurry, when, if I understand it correctly, one of the levees breached. Now, I'm not familiar with how this all works, so if I'm using terms that are incorrect, I'm trying to repeat what I've been told and what I understand about that. So when it gets into the technical stuff, I may not be exactly right, and I hesitate to talk too much about that just because I don't want to give you inaccurate information. But these two men, Emmett Shorter and D. Hemphill, were on their equipment. They were working like they do every day, and they were covered. So this has been a rescue and recovery effort that has been going on now for 6 days. It's been very emotional for this community, especially for the families who have been out here pretty much every day, for the other employees of this company as well. Let's see. Why are they asking for a state of emergency? I didn't know that they were. If they are, that's something new to me. Sorry, I'm trying to maneuver all this and the light and everything else. Let's see. I think, yes, some of the appearance of slow movement is because of the lack of stability, not just to the dam, but also of I guess the sludge. I mean, you know, that's been something they've been trying to figure out, how to build a bridge across, how to build a road out there to where they were. Because if you put people out there in basically quicksand, you are putting them in danger if you don't do it right. And so that's not something that can be rushed. Let's see. It's an unusual situation. Yes, that's true. For any rescue crew, and having been on a local fire department, I can tell you that you tend to think you're prepared. You tend to think you know what you're going to do in most situations. This was not one that anyone had ever thought of. And Green Brothers has been here for a very long time and has never had a situation like this. Let's see, why aren't these companies required to dig and brace and keep things like this from happening? I think the thing is, like, I don't know enough about how the procedures are, the safety procedures and stuff, so I can't answer why. But I can tell you that they very much, this company has a good reputation from everything I've heard for safety. They have always, from everything I've heard from people that have worked there, been very conscientious when it comes to safety for their employees. So while I don't know if OSHA has anything on them, I do know that everything that I've heard from the people that work there is that people work there for years, and that this place has always been somewhere that is safe. This is from my understanding, the kind of accident that is an accident, that is a fluke and a real tragedy. Okay, I'm trying to look some more. Let's see. How deep? I don't know how deep the actual gravel pit is. Like I said, it's huge. But I know that it was covered initially by, I think they said 12 to 15 feet of sludge, which is a lot, and that weighs a lot. I mean, one thing that people seem to be forgetting, they keep saying, well, why don't they just dig? We're talking about, I mean, tons and tons of sludge and gravel that came down on top of these guys. Let's see. There are a lot of questions. I'm trying to just kind of sort through the ones that we haven't answered yet. Can they use the machine that shows where bodies underground are? I'm not sure. I don't know if the consistency of the sludge makes that different, or if it's something they can use. If it is, I guarantee they have used it, because not only are we talking about rescue groups here, you know, we've got feds, we've got state guys, you know, this is a large number of resources on this situation. So if it can be used to find them, it probably has already, from everything I'm hearing. Looking at more of your questions. If you're experiencing video problems, I apologize. It could be me because I'm out in the middle of nowhere. But just like that, as a matter of fact, as soon as I said it. Okay, let's see. Still looking at your questions. Can they use the x-ray machines? That's what I was saying. I don't know about the consistency of the ground. I don't know if that's something that they can do or not. Have they checked both cabs or just one? What I understand is they cut the top off the dump truck yesterday, and they found that Mr. Shorter was not in it. I think they are now trying to excavate, well, I don't want to say excavate the excavator, but they now are trying to get into the excavator, from what I understand, and that may be what the trench rescue team is here to do. It would stand to reason. I don't have any knowledge of the what's going on right now, but it would stand to reason the trench rescue team has probably been brought in. Now, they've been here from the beginning, they've been here off and on, but probably their mission tonight would be to get down there in with the excavator and clean out the cab of it as well. Let's see, why can't they dig another hole parallel and then go across to the men? That's going to be something that I'm sure that if they can, they do. Again, we're talking about a very unstable substance. This isn't like hard ground like you have in your backyard. This is like sludge, and it gets really hard like concrete when you pump the water out, and when you put the water back in, it gets sludgy again. Again, we're getting into technical stuff that I don't know, but I think it's safe to say that if they can do it, these guys are. Let's see, they're calling for a state of emergency to help with the cost. That's news to me. I apologize to y'all that I didn't know that. But if that's the case, then I will definitely have it in a story for tomorrow. Let's see, do the volunteers or workers need anything? I don't know that, but I bet you could call Copiah County EOC and they could tell you. I do know that we've had people coming up and down the street pretty much the whole time I've been here, you know, stopping by to see if they can give water, that kind of thing. I've had several people offer us here with the media to, you know, let us use their bathrooms, or, you know, did we need anything? And that's so kind, y'all. Copiah County isn't just my home. It's a place full of really amazing people, and I'm just so grateful to all of y'all for taking care of me. Let's see, if one of them was in the truck at the time and it was closed up, where could he have gone, or how could he get out? That's not a crazy question, Amanda. The thing about it is, this stuff came down so hard and so fast. As I understand it, the truck door may have been open, but when it comes down that hard and fast, and this happens a lot of times with water as well, like when you have a flooding situation, it can wash somebody out of the vehicle. It can eject you. So whether he was in the vehicle when it happened, or whether he was ejected, or whether some people have said that potentially they could have seen it coming and tried to escape. At this point, I don't know the answer to that. I do know that there allegedly is someone who saw it happen, and I don't know how much light he's been able to shed on the situation, because I hadn't spoken to him myself. I did hear that through the grapevine as well. Let's see, looking at your question still. Could cadaver dogs help? I don't know if they could or not. Again, I think we're, hold on, sorry, I'm trying to My arm is getting tired. I didn't know we were going to talk for 15 minutes, y'all. I believe that in this case, again, you're talking about the instability of the ground. I think it sounds like it would be unsafe to take cadaver dogs out there. Again, that's a little above my pay grade, so I don't want to speculate too much on it. Let's see. Are they still alive? Kristen, that's a tough question because it would be against the odds. But one of the things we have talked about a lot on this page is that God does miracles, and there are a lot of people praying for a miracle in this situation. And I don't try to guess what God's doing. So, do I hope they're alive? Absolutely. Do the facts make it hard to believe? Yeah, but my God can do whatever He wants, regardless of what people say the facts are. So that said, I think kind of make the decision based on your faith as to how you want to pray, and pray for the family, pray for the responders, pray for these guys. That's my advice on that, because I don't know whether they're alive or not, but I would love it if they were. Let's see. And I see a lot of you guys are praying, and someone said both vehicles have been checked. We do kind of know that. Let's see. Okay. There's a lot of comments and they're coming fast, so I'm just trying to keep up here. I apologize if you guys can just wait with me for a second. Have they talked about bringing in dogs? We've kind of talked about the dogs a little bit. Why hasn't this made national news? Now that said, I don't know about the networks. I don't know about, who's covering it as far as TV goes, but the Clarion Ledger, we are a USA Today network company, and we have been covering this through USA Today as well. So it is something that USA Today picked up early on. As far as some of the big shows that people watch, I don't know who's covering it or not. Let's see. Is a portion of the dump truck still visible, or did the sludge cover it back up? I'm not sure about that because I can't see the scene from where I am. I do know that where people can see it, it's still a long way away, and it's still a huge, huge canyon. So I don't know the answer to that. But I think that it's a good bet that probably as they've gotten them, out of the water or out of the sludge, they're probably trying to keep them exposed so that at some point they can get the equipment out and that kind of thing. Let's see. Is it true that the levee had a leak? I don't know the answer to that. Let's see. Still looking. What's going on? Again, just a recap. We're in Copiah County at Green Brothers Gravel Pit. 6 days ago, 2 miners were in a situation where a levee broke and sludge and gravel covered them. They were buried in it. That said, there has been a search and rescue, recovery and rescue going on ever since. And we're just hoping that we can bring you guys some good news tonight. Let's see, we're still looking. Someone said they just found one. That's not something that I've heard, but if that is the case, then we'll let you know. There's a lot of situations here that people have told us that have not ended up being accurate, so I don't want to report anything until I know it for sure. So if you guys are giving me information in the comments, that's going to be something that I have to verify with authorities. Okay, Dustin says Copiah supervisors have sent requests to the governor's office for state of emergency. That would make sense, and I just haven't heard that. I've of course been out here. There's a lot of activity going on right now. You can probably hear the cars leaving. That's been off and on throughout the night. I haven't seen any of the trench rescue or dive team vehicles leaving. Let's see. Yes, my arms do hurt. Let's see. I'm sorry, y'all bear with me while I look at this. Okay, we're kind of into a lot of the same questions here. So basically, and someone just asked, will they have to end up draining it out completely to get them out? That I think is one of the concerns, because when Mr. Shorter was not in the dump truck, that means anywhere that sludge went during the landslide, he could be, which is a daunting thought when you think of the process as it has been so far, and the fact that we've got so much to cover here and so many possibilities as far as where they could be. and that it is so hard to search in this sludge. So yeah, that's a good question, and you know, y'all, I really wish I could give you the answers to all these questions better. I'm just trying to give you what I know and what I've been told. Let's see. Still looking, sorry y'all. Yeah, and what Angel's saying is true. Having lived in Copiah County, there's not been an incident that I can recall at this place. And like I said, what I understand from people that have worked there and family members of people that have worked there is they've always been a very safe, very safety conscious business. Let's see. Do I know the woman that said her dad went through the same tragedy? No, I don't know of that story. When all this happened, did either of them have a radio to be able to talk back and forth with the crews? If they did, what I'm afraid of is that it came in so fast. What I understand is it took about 8 seconds for the landslide to happen. That hits you quick. Having been a responder, knowing how you reach for your radio, and sometimes you think about it and sometimes you don't. I don't know that 8 seconds would be enough to process what's happening, try to figure out how to survive it, and radio for help. That said, again, I don't presume to know what was going through their minds when it happened, but I know it had to be terrifying. Let's see, apparently somebody asked where this is happening. We're in Mississippi. Let's see, oh, I just deleted somebody's comment on accident while I was trying to scroll down. So if I deleted your comment and it was nice and it wasn't ugly, that's my fault, because it's hard to do all this at once. I apologize. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, can you go out there? I think if you were in the public and you wanted to come out here, you're going to be sitting on the side of the road like everybody else. They're not letting anybody close to the scene. Even to the point that at one point they had the family not too far so that they could watch what was going on, just in the interest of transparency, allowing them to know what the situation was as they searched for their loved ones. And I don't know that they're even doing that now. So that's the case. Yeah, law enforcement has it blocked off. Scooter Borgman, I don't know where Ryan Moore is, but somebody needs to call him. Let's see. Did you hear that one had tried to make a call on Messenger? I did hear at one point that Emmett Shorter's Facebook was active. As I understand it, that was because a family member or an acquaintance or somebody was using his Facebook, was what I was told. Again, that's not something that I have actively reported on or tried to dig up, but I did hear that it wasn't actually him using it. Let's see. Yeah, that was an ambulance leaving. They've had ambulances here just to, you know, I guess stand by while they do the search and recovery rescue efforts. Let's see. Mud is different than this stuff. What Larry White is saying. Yeah, this isn't just your normal backyard mud. This is sludge, and this is, you know, something that as it dries turns into more of a concrete type substance is what I've been told. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, and what Anthony Phillips is saying is true too, that they could have been blown from the equipment since it came down with such force. That is something that has been a consideration throughout. Is, you know, if they actually were in the vehicles, or could they have been ejected when it was hit by the landslide? So that's something as they've been searching. Let's see. Again, I'm trying to look at all this. Yeah, Rita's saying she heard it was the girlfriend on the Facebook page, and that's what I had heard too. Again, that's not something I've got from anybody official, and I like to try and stick to the stuff that I have officially. Let's see. Okay, I think it looks like we've answered most of the questions so far. Somebody asked how big it is. Yeah, it's at least a football field, at least. And from what I've seen, I think it's bigger. It's definitely taller. We're talking about, if you look at those pictures, the huge crane looks tiny compared to it. This isn't just a little hole in the ground. So anyway, I think I've run out of things that I know to tell you. And I know that I don't know the answer to most of your questions, but I know that I'll be here for a little while longer. I'll probably stay here until about midnight, at least. and if we have any updates, I'll update. If we have any major updates, that will come from the Clarion Ledger Facebook page. So if you see an alert from them, that would mean that we have a major update here. But otherwise, I'll just be updating from here to kind of give you, as I've done, you know, just to give you a picture of what's happening out here and what we know. Even if it's nothing, I just know that it's important to you guys to know that we are still paying attention, that it is still going on, and that, you know, we're still here. Tori, yes, I do need to rest both of my arms because I'm gonna need them too. Anyway, thanks so much, guys. And like I said, I'll be here for a little while longer, and I'll update at least once more before I go. Thanks again for all your support. I really appreciate you guys trusting me to tell these stories. So from Copiah County on this very dark road, I'm Therese Apel.